Just waiting for a few people to join and then I'm going to get started. Hello and welcome to the stream. I'm going to get started here in just a minute. I'm just trying to give a few people time to see the live up. Hey, Sherry. I mean, hey, Grandma Cherry. That Gabs. We're going to get started in a minute. I was trying to share the live on Discord, but apparently I can't brain tonight and I can't multitask. So what I'm gonna do is try to just put one foot in front of the other and see how I get that done tonight. Sorry I haven't been on here, y'all, too. I've been feeling kind of bad, so I didn't know my throat was all scratchy and I had that like achy feeling. I was like, oh my God, please don't let it be the flu. And for God's sake, don't let it be the C word again. Thankfully it wasn't. I guess I just had some kind of little 24-hour 48-hour ick or something. I don't know. It's that time of year and I live in the house with kids and a medical professional, so no telling what they're liable to bring home. All right. So tonight is uh, Deanna Cook's story. She's from Dallas, Texas, or she was from Dallas, Texas. Her case was the starting point of a lot of major changes within the Dallas Police Department and especially the Dallas 911 call system for the way that they handle calls. I'm going to play two recordings for you tonight. The first is going to have you scratching your head like, what in the world are they doing in Dallas? Can anybody figure this out? And the second is going to have you reaching for the Kleenex. So, Deanna Cook was actually murdered while she was on the phone with 911 calling for help, one of hundreds of calls that she had made for service due to stalking and abuse by her estranged ex-husband, who their divorce was brought about by his violence towards her, and he continued that afterward, stalking, harassing, being violent, all the way up to the point that he murdered her. And so there's another video that I'm going to link in the description after the chat, after the live stream. I can't play it because I think that's one of the channels that does like copyright or whatever. Thank you, Sherry. It's like Crime Daily or something, but I think they copyright if you play their stuff. I'm going to link it so that you can watch it yourself. It is her mother and her sister who actually found her after the police failed to do so. And it really tells the story better than I ever could. So first, what we're going to have is we're going to check out, if I can figure out how to share a screen. Here we go. This is going to be one of the 3 calls that she made to 911 immediately preceding her death. And y'all tell me if you can hear it. Did I?
Hi, ma'am. I have a stalker. I'm on my way to work, but I need an officer to go to 9359 Crimson Court. My estranged ex-husband, they done
Okay,
already
hold on.
escorted him from my house a few times, and officers
Okay, I
to go
couldn't
by
hear
the
it, so
area
I'm
and
gonna
just
try it again.
check it out for me.
Is somebody at your house?
No, there's nobody there. I had to go to work, and I couldn't stay at home today. Because I stayed at home yesterday because he said he was going to break my house and stuff like that. And I
All
can't
right,
keep
let me know
staying
if
at
you can hear
home
this once I hit
because
play.
Who is this? Who is he to you?
he's my ex.
Dallas 911. This is Pat. What is your emergency?
Hi, ma'am. I have a stalker. I'm on my way to work, but I need an officer to go to 9359 Crimson Court. My estranged ex-husband, they done already escorted him from my house a few times. And when I got up for work this morning, walking to the bus stop, I seen him over by the park and in that area by my house. So I don't know what his plan is while I go to work or whatever he's going to break in my house or nothing like that. So I would like for officers to go by that area and just, check it out for me.
Is somebody at your house?
No, there's nobody there. I had to go to work, and I couldn't stay at home today, because I stayed at home yesterday because he said he was going to break in my house and stuff like that, and I can't keep staying at home because he's got
Who is
a
this? Who is he to you?
He's my ex-husband, and they done already escorted him from over there in T. Gordon Place. He's not even supposed to be in the area, and he has on.
T. Gordon Place. Is that an apartment or a house?
It's a house, and it's 9359 Crimson Court. But he be at that park, and he'll probably be in my backyard or whatever. But he has on all white, some white shorts and white tank top with white Nike.
What's your name?
My name is Deanna Cook.
Cook is the last name. What's the first name?
Deanna.
How do you spell
Deanna.
And what's his name?
Del Vecchio Patrick.
What is it?
Del Vecchio.
How do you spell it?
DELVECCHIO.
D like David, E-L,
Yes.
and then you're saying V like Victor?
Yes.
V what?
DELCCHIO.
And what's his last name?
Patrick.
Is he black, white, or Hispanic?
He's a black guy. He has tattoos all over his body and everything, and two goats in his mouth.
What about a vehicle?
No, he don't have a vehicle. He stays right there in Gulf Springs, so he'll walk over there to my house. He'll walk over in my area. And I got a call last night with him saying that he was over by my area, so I stayed at home, and I was at home all
night. Did you call and report it to the police?
No, because I've made so many reports. I know that they probably tired of me calling. I just need to be.
Now, how does that strike you? Hey, Elizabeth. And she says that she's made so many reports that they're probably tired of hearing from her. But yet, even with all these reports, this guy is still out on the streets to harass her and threaten her and have just terrorized her life. She had to stay home from work for fear of what he might do if she left her house. That's crazy.
Him to, they need to just get him away from there. I don't know what else to do, And I don't know.
So you need to call every time he calls. If he says he's coming to your house, you need to call. Anytime you see him, you need to call. Do you have a restraining order on him?
I couldn't get down because when I went and got one, it was a conflict of interest because I've been in a prison before. So it was just it's a long process now. I've been up there already, and then he's already tried to kill me 3 times. So I'm really just really fed up with this. I can't.
Did y'all hear that? They told her she couldn't get a restraining order against someone who was threatening to take her life because she had been to prison. I'm gonna tell you a little story here from when I used to live in Dallas, and I believe every word she said. They probably told her that. I had an incident with the ex that I was talking about out there in Dallas, the one we saw on uh, doing that news interview in Sierra Ford's murder. He basically carjacked me. He beat the crap out of me. I was in the driver's side of the car, parking it. I wouldn't let him borrow my car. He beat the crap out of me, beat me from the driver's seat to the passenger seat, then pushed me out of the car. Beat me so bad that I still have a split in my lower eyelid on one side of my face. I look like somebody carjacked me. Do you know the police told me when they came? Well, you can't report your car stolen because you've let him drive it in the past, so he can drive it whenever he wants, whether you want him to or not. And I'm like, wait a minute. So if I let somebody borrow my car one time, that's like a never ending permission to take my car, even by force and violence? The cop tells me, yeah, that's how it works out here. That was just a lazy cop that didn't want to do his job. They have, for situations where it's like a family member, a friend, or someone who's driven your car at a different time, they have an affidavit that you can fill out swearing under oath that your car was taken without your permission, that the person does not have your permission to drive your car. You fill it out, you sign it right there with the police, and they take the report. Of course, I didn't find that out until like 3 years after the fact. Dallas police are very lazy. So I believe that someone told this woman since she had been to prison, she couldn't get a protective order.
Keep moving and changing my life because of it.
So you went before the judge
Yeah, he had already tried to kill her 3 times. 3 times attempted murder.
and the judge said you couldn't get a restraining order?
Yes, because I've been in prison before and they said it's a conflict of interest.
What judge did you talk to?
It's been some years ago, so I forgot her name. But
Okay, so we're not talking about 2 or 3 years ago, ma'am. You're saying somebody's stalking you right now.
yes, ma'am.
Okay, you need to go and get a restraining order. That doesn't even make sense. It doesn't matter if you've been in prison or not. It's still against the law to threaten a person's life. It has nothing to do with your background or what kind of lifestyle you live. It's against the law for somebody to tell you they're going to take your life. It's against the law for somebody to take another person's life. So that has nothing to do with where you've been. So you need to go and try to get a restraining order or a protective order, whatever you can get in place.
I was thinking of just not to go to work tomorrow and go.
It may not happen in one day, but I can't believe that they told you can't get a restraining order because you've been to prison. That doesn't even make sense, ma'am.
That's what they told me. So I stayed up there.
Were you just getting out of prison when they said that?
No, I wasn't just getting out. I just had a case pending on him when I went up there, and they dropped the case and everything because it was self-defense because he tried to kill me. So I'm just tired of this. I just really just want some officers to think and go by my house.
I don't know if y'all can hear her good on that part because I had a little trouble hearing it too. She said she just had a case on him and they dropped it because it was self-defense. What she was saying is that they had pressed charges against her for doing something to him, but it turns out it was self-defense, and so they had to drop it. They also do that. Now, with that person that I showed you that I was with when I was in Dallas, there came a point when I got fed up. I was tired. I couldn't take no more. The man had made me lose jobs, lose apartments, destroy property that belongs to me, just evil stuff. I told y'all, I thought he was a demon assigned to destroy my life. I really did. Well, anyway, sorry about that. Well, I'll tell you later. Let me finish this.
They really, you have to call the call station and ask them to increase control for your area. Do that. But when you see that guy, you need to call the police to make a report. They're not going to tell you that you can't get a restraining order or some kind of protective order. If the person is threatening your life and he's not doing that, that's totally different. If you're calling and saying, I saw him, he has said anything, you have to make contact, you have to aid him, that's totally different.
I wouldn't call
Okay, then
how you deal with police involved anything, but I'm really right now, I really don't take 3 times. So I just it
Oh, I forgot to unmute it. I'm sorry, but I was saying, okay, this is what I lost my train of thought on. This is what I lost my train of thought on was that how she was saying that she had the charges against her and they got dropped. They actually charged me. If you look up my record in Dallas County, you'll see that I was arrested for domestic violence, assault, and battery. They ended up after the fact dropping it down to a misdemeanor, and I did like 19 days in jail. Which had I had an attorney first, hey PJ, then they probably would have thrown it out. I had to take a plea bargain in order to get out of jail so that I can go to work to get my money to pay an attorney because they wouldn't let me get. They had the bond so high. So anyway, after I took the original plea bargain, I went and hired a private attorney. He took it back to court, made them drop it down to a misdemeanor because they had put me on like they were giving me like, oh, you got to do probation for X amount of years and this, that, and the other thing. And the private attorney went in there. And he's like, basically, like, look, all of this that he's done to her in the past, I believe it was self defense. So they dropped it down to a misdemeanor, and I served. It was time served, just like the 19 days that I had sat in jail waiting to go to court. They will charge. They're supposed to look for the primary aggressor, but a lot of times the way that they determine the primary aggressor is whoever lost the fight, the other person goes to jail. Because this particular day, this man he was hitting me. He was destroying my truck. He broke the radio on my truck. He busted my brand new subwoofer that I had just bought. He was just tearing stuff up on the dash, and I could not get him out of my car. I could not get him out of my car. I tried pushing him out, everything. He would keep locking the doors. I could not get him out of my car. And so I finally got mad. I grabbed the car jack. It was one of those small, like round cylinder ones that the newer jacks that they put in the cars. Well, I grabbed the jack and I just started hitting him with it. I beat the crap out of him because I really snapped. I was so tired of this man destroying my life. I was so tired of not being able to have anything because I'm stuck constantly playing catch up, trying to replace what you messed up or find a job because you made me lose this job, coming on this job, acting a fool, causing me to get evicted because you're coming to my house, acting a fool, being stupid, being loud, drawing attention, starting stuff. So I snapped, I beat the dog crap out of him. And it's because I won the fight. Hey, guess who went to jail? But they figured it out in the end. But yeah, I just wanted to say that because she said that she had those charges against her, and they do that in Dallas.
Somebody can just go by my home. I know he's over there.
They're not going to be able to do anything if he's at your house if you're not there. Because we don't, I can send a police out there, but they're just going to write that off. When you call, I'm saying this for your own good, if you're having this problem that you're saying you're having, you need to call the police. You need to have them come out and give you a documented statement each time that you see this person. If he is stalking you, if you're afraid for your life, then you need to call the police, wait for the police to come and give you a statement saying that they were actually at your address for this certain time, whatever it is. Whenever you call, every single time that you do that, you go to court with that. They're not going to tell you that you can't make a report for this guy coming if he's harassing you. If you don't have any document, that's different.
I understand. I've been going through this for like 5 years with him, and it's still the same thing. I got him in here. I already.
She ain't lying. It was 6 years for me going through that hell.
Okay.
Well, if you're doing like what you're doing now, when they go out there, that's not going to be documented because we don't have a complaint.
I have complaints. If you can look up my name, you can see it's 100,000, about 1,000 complaints. But ain't nobody doing nothing.
And what when they make a complaint, what do they say? That's what I'm saying. What is the result? When was the last time you called the police?
like 2 weeks ago, and they just tell me not to open my door when he comes to the door and all that.
So
Same
when
thing.
they came to your house 2 weeks ago, the guy wasn't
They,
there.
he was there, and they had to escort him away from my house.
And did they make a report and give you a report number?
Yes.
Okay, that's what you need. Those reports where they went out there and had to make him leave, you need that to take to a judge. That's what you need to take to him. This guy's following me. This guy's stalking me. These are the times that I've had to call the police out there.
Yeah, he is addicted to PCP, and it's not going to stop him. He runs off and he leaves and everything. When the police come, he runs and they can't find him. I'm just.
That's another thing too. If they come and the person that you're trying to report is not there, they are not going to take the time to try to look for them. I remember one time this dude, he that same monster during this live. Every time I'm talking about him, the abuser, it's that same one. So I don't have to keep saying it. But he broke my brand new glasses. 400 and some odd dollar glasses. Broke my brand new glasses. Just slapped them off my face for no doggone reason. So I called the police and I'm like, look, y'all need to do something, get him away from here, don't let him come back, whatever. He had left, probably just walked across the street and sat on the bus bench, was looking at him coming in the gate. You know what they wrote him? A citation. A citation that was basically nothing. It isn't even a misdemeanor. Like a citation falls below even the lowest misdemeanor. That's what they did.
It over is. I can't lose my job for this. I'm just tired.
We're going to send them. Is this the phone number you can be reached at? All I can do is try to help you, ma'am. It's up to you. You're going to have to, it will be up to you to actually try to do the things that we suggest to you. But if you don't do that, then, the police hands are tied. If they don't have any documentation of actually having a situation where we have to constantly go out there because this guy is harassing you, then it looks totally different when you go to a judge.
I understand.
All right, well, we'll send them out there.
Thank you.
Okay, so that was her first call. This is the first immediately preceding him murdering her. She had already made three calls to 911 relatively close together. That was just the only one of the three that I could find that's been published anywhere. All right, the next thing, now this one, if you are a survivor of any kind and you have witnessed some extremely violent events, I would suggest that you tune out now for the next 10 minutes or so. The call that I'm going to play now is the call where she was actually on the phone with 911 trying to get help as he murdered her. That is what you're going to hear. So if you feel you may be triggered, if it might be too much for you to handle, now is the time to step out.
Hello, do you need police or ambulance? I need an address. Hello, I need an address. Hello, this is Tanita Dow 1. Hello, you need police or ambulance? I need an address.
So she was actually on the phone with 911 as this man was taking her life. And during all that time, not a single cop showed up. I want to say, if I recall correctly, the police showed up like an hour later. We're going to find out. But whenever they showed up, she was already dead. They knocked on the door, didn't get an answer, turned around and walked away. Almost the exact same thing that we saw them do with Sierra's murder. Knocked on the door, somebody said, "Oh, nothing's going on." They turned around and walked away. So I'm going to share this article with you. And this is concerning the 911 call taker who took that call. Because she says she didn't hear him choking her. I mean, maybe she didn't realize what she was actually hearing. Um, they could have been in Dallas proper, but pretty much everything around Dallas is considered Dallas. But having lived there, I want to say that really, no matter where you are, unless you're out like Duncanville or something, then there's cops all over Dallas all the time. You cannot go 3 blocks without seeing cops, especially in black neighborhoods. I mean, there is no excuse for them to take that long under any circumstances because you have Dallas City Police and Dallas County Police, and you got the marshals and the constables and all these other ones rolling around. So there is absolutely in Dallas no excuse for them to take an hour to get there. It's just no excuse. Okay, so the article says Dallas 911 operator says she couldn't hear Deanna Cook's ex-husband choking her. It was the murder of Deanna Cook more than anything else that forced the city of Dallas to take a hard look at its 911 call center. There was simply no way to explain away the lackadaisical response to the horrifying 11-minute 911 call in which Deanna Cook pleads for her life as she's attacked by her ex-husband. That's not to say that City Hall, get rid of some of this stuff on the screen. That's not to say that City Hall and Dallas Police Department didn't try to explain it away. They placed the blame squarely on the shoulders of 911 operator Tanyita Hopkins, who resigned after an internal investigation found she hadn't adequately communicated the severity of Cook's plight. Meanwhile, DPD quietly beefed up staffing and rearranged call center's top brass. I actually love Oak Cliff. Oak Cliff it's so variegated. Hopkins suggests with some justification that she's being used as a scapegoat to cover up deeper problems with the call center. She said she's laid low since her resignation, but spoke at length with NBC Rock Center, which took a long look at Cook's case and the absurdly slow police response that Friday night. She contends that she did her job, quickly tracking down the exact address for Cook and relaying the information to officers. Throat still a little scratchy, y'all. She also says she labeled the call urgent, which she thinks was enough to tell responding officers not to stop at 7-Eleven for a water or take a half hour showing up. She says DPD never gave her more specifics on what she did wrong. I wanted to know what critical information should I have entered. If I'm being punished for something, then I need to know why, she told Rock Center. She also says she heard neither Cook choking nor the man in the background repeatedly threatening to kill her. She was busy by that point searching for an address and says the headsets don't cancel out the background noise of a room full of other 911 operators. That said, she says losing her job is a small price to pay for DPD fixing a broken system. If the system is broken and I had to be the sacrificial lamb, so to speak, so that they can correct it and no one else will lose their life, it's okay with me because I would rather go through that than to hear about another woman losing her life. And if you wanted to see her interview, I'm going to link this article. You can go and see her interview. All right. The last article we're going to share tonight on this is the sentencing of the ex-husband. Hey, tell Burden I said thank you so much. Welcome, Intuitive One, to the stream. All right, so this is going to be the last one. I think this is the right video. We're going to find out.
Sentence given to Delvecchio Patrick for murdering his ex-wife, 85 years in prison. That's the sentence given to Delvecchio Patrick for murdering his ex-wife, Deanna Cook. Back in 2012, Cook was on the phone with 911 when she was killed. The delayed police response brought changes in how the city handles emergency calls. NBC5's Ken Kalthoff live at the courthouse now with reaction. Ken?
Prosecutors wanted a life sentence here. The ex-husband's lawyer suggested as little as 5 years. And so the victim's relatives are pleased tonight with a long 85 years, especially after this defendant's behavior here today. The defendant's, Deanna Cook's supporters left the courtroom with tape over their mouths to signify how she was silenced by the murder, but then removed the tape as they spoke out afterward on her behalf. Deanna Cook made a disturbing 911 call as she was being attacked, but relatives only found her body in a bathtub 2 days later because the call did not get high priority, a reform made sense. The prosecutor said jurors had this chance to send a message that domestic violence will not be tolerated. It was not caught on camera, but during victim impact statements, defendant Delvecchio Patrick laughed at Cook's daughters, and it brought a sharp response.
I hope you get raped. You laugh, but it's not funny.
And we want this to not happen to any other family. We want to educate my nieces and other young women on what a healthy relationship is. And so that's our focus right now.
38-year-old Delvecchio Patrick must serve at least 30 years with good behavior before he will be considered for parole. And we understand that he's already been a menace to jailers here, hardly a model prisoner. Reporting live in Dallas, Ken Kalthoff, NBC5.
Ken, thank you. Now to a murder that has shocked.
85 years, which is surprising. You see what they only gave Sierra's murderer 11 years. Crazy. Let's see, what is this? I think this might be a different video. It could be the same one though. Let's see.
We have some breaking news at this half hour. A verdict in the sentencing phase of the Delvecchio Patrick murder trial.
You'll remember he was found guilty of killing his ex-wife last week, and now we know how long he will serve. Ken Kalthoff has been following this trial from the very beginning. Ken, what do you have?
85 years in prison. That is the tough sentence handed down by a jury just a few moments ago here at the Dallas County Courthouse. Delvecchio Patrick was convicted last week for killing his ex-wife, Deanna Cook, back in 2012. This was a big case because she was recorded on a 911 call screaming for help, but her body was only found 2 days later in the bathtub. When family members went there, the police did not handle it as a very high priority call. Well, the prosecutor here told the jury they need to send a message that domestic violence will not be tolerated, and that is what they have done. 85 years, about as good as a life sentence, the sentence that the prosecutor was asking for. If he were ever paroled, Delvecchio Patrick would be indeed a very old man with an 85-year prison sentence. There are victim impact statements being read in court right now. We'll check on those and get back to you later, but for now, 85 years is the sentence for Delvecchio Patrick. Back to you.
All right, Ken, keep us posted. Thank you. Several stories breaking right now.
So at least they got it right on the sentencing part. As much as they messed up and screwed up and led up to that baby losing her life, at least they got the sentencing part right. But, I mean, what's a pound to cure when you could have used an ounce of prevention? Her life is never coming back. Her mother will never see her again, hold her baby again, talk to her. She'll never see her babies again, who grew into some beautiful young ladies. It's so frustrating how domestic violence calls tend to get handled. You know, there are people in jail right now, in prison, with 5, 6 times as much time as Sierra's murderer got, and all they had was like a sack of weed or something. There's a guy out in California who stole a Snicker bar because he was hungry and ended up with a life sentence under the jacked up uh, judicial system out there with the 3 strikes and you're out stuff. A life sentence for stealing a Snicker bar. And yet, Jonathan Edlin got 11 years for murdering his common law wife in front of their children. You are so right. It is entirely not enough being done to really protect domestic violence victims, and speaking personally, it is so, the resources that are there are so hard to get. Sometimes they just make you jump through hoops. I called the police one time because the person I was dating at the time, we were standing in the kitchen at the counter eating after we had come in from a movie or some junk. And I'm making my food, and the next thing I know, I'm slapped and I'm on the floor, and I'm like, what the hell? In his crazy mind, kind of find out he was on drugs, all kind of drugs, but kind of find out he thought I called him a bitch, which even if I did, that doesn't mean slap me, put your hands on me, or whatever. But I never said that. I hadn't said a word. So I called the police, and they're like, well, we can take you to this battered women's shelter. We get to the shelter. They say, well, everybody who comes here has to take a urine test. I say, no problem. I don't do drugs. I don't know if her test was faulty or what. She did the test, and she said, you can't stay. You tested positive for opioids. I'm like, what are you talking about? I don't do drugs. I don't even smoke weed. I really don't even drink. What are you talking about? Well, there's nothing I can do about it. Well, can you test me again? Because I don't do drugs. No, I can't. It's positive. You can't stay here. So because your faulty test says that I was positive for opioids, my only choice was to go back to the house with the abuser. They also have things in place to where if a crime happens, is committed against you in your residence, such as domestic violence, rape, assault, if it happens within your residence, every single state has funds to move you to a new residence so you don't have to be in that same place that you were victimized in. But how many people ever heard of that? Did any of you know that they had those type of resources out there? I mean, I just don't think they do enough. I don't think they do enough to protect victims. I don't think they do enough to let victims know the resources and help that's available to them. I don't think they do enough to keep these abusers off the street. If you look at the record for my abuser when I lived in Florida, the one that ended up breaking my ribs, you'll see he has charges for different domestic violences and different assaults going all the way back to the 90s. But 9 times out of 10, when someone is arrested for domestic violence, if the other party decides not to go to court, the charges will get thrown out. Even if they have pictures of you with your eyeball hanging out of your head, instead of taking that and presenting it to a jury anyway, they will drop the charges. As if they don't know that sometimes these victims are so afraid of the abuser or the abuser's friends and family or whatever it is that he or she has been putting into the victim's head about, if you do this, and I got family, I got friends, I got people. Like the abuser in Dallas, when he was in jail one time for abusing me, his cousin came by my house to use the restroom, which was nothing. She usually did because she worked fairly close by, and she's kind of like me. I don't sit on everybody's toilet. She came by the house to use the restroom, supposedly. But she had to make sure that she told me about how she had just bought a new gun and she can't wait to pop somebody. I took it as a threat. I took it as a low-key threat. So when you have those types of situations going on, if your mission is to stand for the victims and get justice for the victims, push it to the limit. Take every picture you took of that victim with their face bashed in. Take every medical record that says this bone was broken, that bone was broken, this bruise was apparent. Take that abuser's history and say, look, progression, elevation, repeat offender, repeat arrestee. Take all of that, put it in front of the jury, and stand up for the victim who can't stand up for themselves. If that's really and truly the intention of the district attorneys and prosecutors and what have you. Because there are plenty of cases that have been proven even when the victim wasn't there to speak up. All right, guys, I'm going to get off my soapbox. I was going to come back tonight and do you know what? I'm just going to do it now. I'm going to do it now. Let me see, the hotline.org. Because we left out on the part with, we were getting ready to do the safety planning during pregnancy. So instead of waiting until 10 o'clock, what I'm going to do is I'm going to end this live and I'm going to come right back with the safety planning during pregnancy section of the hotline.org. So I'll see you guys in a few minutes. Oh, and the poll. Have you or someone you know ever experienced domestic violence? 62% of us said, I have. 25% says someone else has. And 12% said that both they and someone else that they know had experienced domestic violence. And that's significant. That means just over 6 out of 10 women, if we base it on this one poll, just over 6 out of 10 women have experienced violence toward them in some form of domestic relationship. And another 2.5 out of 10 are victims also. So that brings us to like 87%. That's crazy. That's a whole lot of us out there who've had to deal with this, who've had to go through this, who've had to break free. And then there are a whole bunch of us out there that haven't yet gotten that strength for themselves. That's a whole lot of us out there still out there going through it. For whatever reason, fear, financial stability, misconceptions of what love is, because love doesn't hurt. Love doesn't make you cry. Love doesn't send you to the hospital. Love doesn't terrorize your children. Love doesn't manipulate you or gaslight you. All right, I'm out of here. Give me a few minutes and I will be right back with pregnancy planning during safety on the hotline.org. Bye, crew.